Hi, team. Welcome to 10 Talks. Thank you for being on our journey. Kathy, thank you for joining us as we really start to explore how do you change and win as we go through our journey for how women win our way. And Melissa Luellen is our guest today. She is a champion golfer, champion golf coach. She is a perfect woman to be speaking to us all about really just how to change and win, because Melissa's story has been all about embracing change and winning on all different levels. So Melissa, thank you for joining us today. We want to start with the power of your story.
Wow, the power of my story. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. It's always a delight to talk with you, Carlette and Kathy. It's so nice to share this time with you. I think the whole important thing is that everybody does have their story, and everyone is unique and different, and experiences is how you get to how I got to where I got to. I'll just do it in a nutshell here. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My mom and dad were both really good golfers. My mom was a collegiate golf coach, and that's a whole nother story in itself. I have an older sister, Kathy, and we kind of grew up playing golf and other sports and just having fun. And then just kind of took to golf. Well, all that time in golf took me through the junior ranks and had some success, and then earned a scholarship to play where none other than where my mom was the coach at the University of Tulsa. Had different opportunities. The story how I ended up at home is another one, but had 4 years with my mom as my coach. A couple of arguments, a great sense of humor from both of us, and won a national championship as a team, and I won the individual my senior year. It was just a very special moment. Probably is the thing that continues to drive me as a coach today. And then after I graduated with my degree in marketing from Tulsa, I went to the pro ranks, played in Europe for a season, came back and got my tour card back in 1999, played for 13 years, and then it was decided to leave professional golf. I left with status. I didn't lose my status. I just decided to leave. So my mom was the one that introduced the idea of coaching to me, because I really was quite lost. I was in my mid 30s and didn't really know what I was going to do after professional sports, which I think is terrifying for most athletes. And so I interviewed for the job at Tulsa, got it, no coaching experience, no assistant coach, tried to screw it up really royally, kind of eked through and got through okay. And then next thing I know, Arizona State is calling to interview me as their coach. I'm not even sure if I even like coaching at this time. But as far as a coaching level, is pretty high up there. So was flattered and excited, and I became the head coach at ASU and was there for 13 years. Had a lot of terrific players, great people around me, and then won a national championship. And so that was really amazing. Another great memory that continues to drive me as a coach. And then I was reaching my 50s, and you know how things kind of start to change a little bit, and just different challenges. Kind of wanted to simplify, and I had the opportunity to just coach and recruit. And as a coach, that's the number one and two things that I like to do and that are important. So had the opportunity to come to Auburn. They truly embraced me. My husband and I, we love it here. So we've been rebuilding the team since I got here, and won the SEC championship last year. So it's been quite a ride. I really appreciate my husband for following me around the country. That takes a lot. But that's my story in a nutshell. So here I am.
Well, Melissa, you left off a couple Hall of Fames. So you want to do just those, just to share that joy of being inducted into several Hall of Fames.
Well, thank you. It's amazing to be recognized by your peers. And so I was University of Tulsa Athletics Hall of Fame, our team was inducted last year into the Hall of Fame. That was really special. The WGCA, which is our coaches association, and the Players Hall of Fame and the Coaches Hall of Fame. I think that's kind of a unique thing. And then my mom and I are both members of the Oklahoma Golf Hall of Fame. And so it's just an honor to be recognized for all the hard work and the cheers and the tears that go along with the journey.
Well, Melissa, you are a beautiful example of how women win our way. Your mom and you have been on this beautiful journey of really discovering it. And that's what we want to share today, is just really going into that. How do you change and win? How do you embrace change? And let's just start with what you think as a coach has really changed the most for you in terms of being able to start over at a program and really develop yourself and your players.
I think it takes a little bit of craziness to leave success and then to kind of start over. I don't know. I think challenge is change. And so everywhere I've been personally, it's been a challenge for me. When I went to Tulsa, it was a challenge to take over my mother's program. When I went to Arizona State, it was a challenge. The longtime Hall of Fame golf coach there had a terrible injury and the program had fallen off. So it was a challenge for me to rebuild it. When I had the opportunity to come to Auburn, more distress around a program, coach with cancer, player, assistant coach being killed in a car accident. I mean, it was a devastating place when I got here, state of affairs. Again, a challenge to change and rebuild the program. And to me, there's been nothing that's been more satisfying than to be able to build it up. Now the hard part is to keep it there and continue to raise it. So that's my new challenge.
Melissa, what is it that administrators are seeing in you when they have programs that are struggling, having been great, or maybe never having been great? What are they seeing in you that has them pursue you as the right fit to fix it?
I don't know if I'm the right person to ask that question, but I guess my love of a challenge, the fact that I'm super competitive, I like to do things the right way. I like to bring, high character people into my program, hard workers. I would call them affectionately golf nerds. Just people that love the game as much as I do and want to really work hard to not only for themselves individually, but to do something special as a group. And in golf, that's a very unusual thing, is to make a team sport out of an individual sport.
Right.
And so, I don't know, it's just what I believe. So maybe what I believe is what attracts them to me.
Well, and with what you have accomplished, and we've talked about this with several of our other coaches, is you're recruiting players who, where they are right now isn't a patch on where you were. What's the benefit in that, and what's the challenge in that for you? And I mean, on a personal level, of done a lot of recruiting. So, talking to a 16 or a 17-year-old who could be good, that's why you're recruiting them, but they're not very good now. And yet everybody around them thinks they're really good. I mean, talk about some of those challenges as a woman coach, and as a very, very accomplished female golfer in her own right.
Well, I think I'm picky. And Linda Volstead, who was the coach at Arizona State, had 6 national championships. So she obviously knew how to choose champions. And I'll caveat here, I have not made the right choices at times too. I'll just say things that I shouldn't, mistakes that I've made. to emphasize the things I need to do in recruiting. If I get in a panic, or like I come to a new program and feel like I need players and I want it to happen fast, and I've made some different choices on kids that maybe they're, good people, but just not a fit for our program at the time. Just looking more at the statistics rather than looking at the person and looking at what their goals were and not vetting that process. That's where I made the mistake. And so when I do a better job of recruiting and choosing the right players, I go through a culture check with my team. And so those characteristics are things that I'm looking for in my recruits. I mean, Carlette's my sport life coach, has been for several years. So we've done a lot of work on this as to who I want to recruit. Who do I want to bring into our culture? Who do I want to bring into our program? Who do I want to invite into my family? I think at age 16, the world is full of potential, is something my mom would love to say. But it's, my job is to bring in talent that's better than the talent I already have. And as you get better, it's harder to do. The crystal ball is not always correct. You think, oh, this kid's going to be awesome. And life happens. College happens. I think in college is when it really becomes revealed how much they love their sport. And so, sometimes college just reveals it, and none of us really saw it coming. But for the most part, if I just watching actions, words are one thing, but actions are so different, so much more powerful. And when I go to tournaments, watching who gets there early, who stays late, who's a chatterbox, who's really focused on getting better, who's a little ticked off after they didn't play well that day, or they just, want to be social all the time. So just little things I can pick up there. It's recruiting it is an interesting study of psychology. So just trying to find the kids that really are passionate is my number one criteria, that they love the game, they want to get better, and they're not afraid to work at it, because golf is very much a skill related sport. So you don't have to be the most talented, but you got to be great mentally, and you've got to really work hard at it.
Melissa, you've been great as a young woman coming into the sport, and I have had the honor of being on your journey for over 10 years. So we started together at ASU and then have gone on to Auburn, and you've become one of our sports life coaches. One characteristic that's so powerful about you is you are a constant learner. Even though we listen to this dialogue about changing and winning, I would say one of your winning strategies is you're always looking to get better. And it's that competitive spirit that you have, that you're going for greatness. Like you walk into a program. I remember when we went to Auburn, I don't even remember what rank it was, but we couldn't find it really. It was pretty far down there. It was unusual for what you and I had the honor of doing. And yet you just were so competitive for you to prove as a coach who you are. You're constantly improving yourself, and also to really bring in competitive greatness to your players. And so I want to talk about, as a woman, really, how do you have confidence? How do you instill confidence in your girls? How do you help them have a voice? And I know you've done this because in your recruiting, you stood up for what you believed in. You were really intentional about it. And that's a beautiful trait.
Confidence can be quite fleeting. And whenever I personally lose confidence, which I do probably weekly, is that I have to, remind myself that, things are hard sometimes, and, anything that's difficult. And, if I've kind of learned to ask myself questions as to what is this teaching me? Why am I going through this? Why am I feeling this? It was just difficult times. It's like, I just consider it as a gift that I'm going to learn from this, and it's going to make me better. I am a curious person, a lifelong learner. I think I feel like I am this way because I came into coaching so late, and I wasn't very developed as a person when I left the tour. You play professional golf and you're treated like a rock star, even though you're not even at the top of the money list. I mean, you're just treated very nicely and you're going to great places. And it's just not really a reality world for most people. And it wasn't a reality world for me based on how much money I was making, but it was, so when I got into coaching, it was my journey really to learn more about myself, because it was no longer about me. And when I was, playing my sport, it was all about me, all about my time, all about what I was doing. And unfortunately, I had to be quite selfish with my time. But it probably bled into my personality a bit too, because was all about me, And when I took the coaching job at Tulsa, and it quickly hit me in the face, this is no longer about me. And it was about those group of young women that I was taking over from a legendary coach of my mom. And I felt very small and very scared, and like, I have got to figure this out. And I think the journey, and I believe that coincidences do not happen. Things happen for a reason. And I went to Linda Volstead's coaching seminar, and that's where I met Carlette. And Carlette gave me a blueprint and tools to not only improve myself as a coach, but most importantly was improve myself as a person. And I'm still on the journey. And I think that's why, I came into coaching late. I kind of started to dive into myself, because when you're leading people, you better be able to back it up. And I think that that's what this journey has done for me. That's why the coaching has been so amazing for me personally. So it's when I lose, we do this with my team, and Carlette has done it with me, is like, what are your strengths? And you get the team together, and one person writes, and everyone just blurts out that person's strengths, and they write it down. And I mean, it is like just putting love into your bucket. I mean, it is just makes you feel so good. And then I keep it on my desk. I look at it, and we do it for our players, and they keep it in their lockers. And it's just when you start to not feel very good or not lose confidence, like, wow, I do have strengths, so not to beat yourself up so much. But just a lot of lessons and tools learned along the way.
Are there things that you can do as a female coach that you either learned from your mother or that you learned along the way that you think give you advantages?
I've learned a lot from my mom. I've learned a lot from a lot of people. That was one of the work that we did, was like, what is my philosophy? What do I stand for? And I was, very compared to my mom, especially coming in, taking over the program. And I was so in awe with my mom, because she started coaching back in the mid 70s. This is before the NCAA, and, really just kind of learning along the way. And what she did was she'd ask questions of coaches that were successful. I mean, go find a role model, and it may just be pieces of that person, but, learn along the way and ask a bunch of questions. And I think that's something that I've held true to myself, is that I'm vulnerable and I'm open to, I want to learn or ask questions, but I'm also open to, I would say criticism, or critique would be the better word. Is one of my things in my program, is I'm always like, how can we get better? What do you like? What do you not like? What was it? What was a 10 for you? What was a 2 for you? And, and I listen to my players and make changes as we need them. Because I'll tell them, I'm like, I've been doing this for a long time now, but I promise you, I don't know everything. And as times change, I think I have to change with them too. And so I think asking questions is one of the greatest things a coach can do. And it's cannot be my way or the highway.
Well, Melissa, as you started developing when I met you, you were all about being super competitive. One dimensional would be our term for it, right? It was all about you and coaching and winning and how do we do this? And one change that has been a real gift to you that I've had the joy of watching is you discovering how to really bring in three dimensions into your life. Personally, who are you? Professionally and philanthropically. And you didn't even know the concept of rest and recovery. I mean, when we talked about it, you were like, okay, how do I just get out there and win more and do more and keep competing? And so take us a bit on your journey, just your words of wisdom to other women listening who are balancing a lot. They've got a partner, they may have a family, they want to win, they want to change, they want to do all of these things. And the performance barrier is always, I don't have time. And so what did you discover about the value of rest and recovery?
So rest and recovery is probably one of my favorite topics now because I was terrible at it, as you reminded me. um, I've always felt in coaching, at least I was behind, I just had so much to learn and wanted to win and all those things. And that was all the important things. And it's still very important to me. But I was terrible at taking vacations. I was terrible at taking even, I bring my homework at night. Relationship suffers. I mean, it's not very healthy. And so when Carlette revealed to me or enlightened me that rest and recovery is as equally as important to performance as practice, sleep, nutrition, all those things. Rest and recovery is huge. And I really never saw it that way. And now I'm a big proponent of it. And so I am with my players. I've changed when we come back from a tournament. Typically it was like, come back one day, you get an off day, and boom, we're back at it. Or, hey, you might want to go work on your putting tomorrow on our off day or something like that. It was like, that's ludicrous. And if I'm tired after a trip, I know the athletes are tired because they're the ones that actually had to deal with all the stress and the physical, carrying the bag for 8 miles a day and all those things. And so now we'll lean to more 2, sometimes 3 days, depending on what our schedule looks like, just giving more grace and more time. And when they come back, they're just so much more refreshed. And their games, within half a day, they're sharpened back up. And so just looking at calendars and trying to time that out. So when I look at that personally, when I now schedule my rest and recovery, I know what I'm going to do. So it's more productive and I actually feel more refreshed. I used to think rest and recovery was just laying on the sofa and watching TV, but it's something that gives me energy. And thankfully, I discovered through curiosity a sport called pickleball. And it'd be through the pandemic. I think it's probably the fastest growing sport in the country. And I just love it. In fact, when I was on my interview at Auburn, I asked if they had pickleball courts, because if they didn't have pickleball courts, it was no deal. And I was serious. And that's how much my rest and recovery and an activity that I really enjoy. And for me, it's exercise, it's social, which I needed. It is fun and it's a little competitive. I'll play small tournaments around here every once in a while. And so just really thoroughly enjoyed it. And can't believe I never had it in my life before. So the other thing, my husband and I don't know if it's a good financial decision, but we did a timeshare in Cabo. And what it does, it forces us to take vacation. And, to go a true 7 days on a vacation was just completely foreign to me. And so we're doing a much better job and we look forward to it every year.
So, Melissa, why do the myths around sports persist? Or why are they so intransigent? And I'll give you, one has to do with, as you've said, rest and recovery. I have no doubt that it makes your athletes happier. I have no doubt that it makes them better adjusted as human beings, gives them better models of how to be in the world. But we don't, if we believed in sport that it made them better golfers, we wouldn't have to be taught this. So why does the myth that the grinder wins persist if rest and recovery is a formula for better performance?
Well, I think part of it has to do with the country that we live in. Is work, 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 work. You know, the more you work, the more money you make, the more successful you are. And so I think it's just ingrained in us as we're, you know, small children, that we're supposed to work, work, work to create opportunities for ourselves. And I don't disagree with that, but it's like a tireless work. And it's kind of what our country has been built on. And I think now that we're in this this time of more science and you know, studies and experiments, that, you know, if you talk to any of the top Olympic athletes, they're all going to talk about rest and recovery, because it's now been proven. Where I think before, the science just wasn't there, and it was like blood, sweat, and tears and all those things. And I, not to say that when you're practicing, it's hard, like it needs to be high level, but you know, the body and the brain just, and the spirit really just can't withstand it for long periods of time. So I don't know, I just think that the science behind it is starting to change people's philosophy on it. I think because of maybe my own personal experience, I know that I played 13 weeks in a row on tour. I was playing pretty good, but I was missing the cut by one shot, and I kept adding another tournament, thinking that I was just going to have that breakthrough. And then I got so exhausted that I had to take 3 weeks off just to, you know, even think about liking to hit a golf ball again. I mean, it was such an emotional just tear down. It was terrible. It was poor planning. It was terrible. And, you know, it took me a long time to recover from those bad decisions. And so part of my personal experience, and then kind of working with Carlette, just gave me new thinking, really. And, you know, we talk about the change formula in sport life coaching. It's new thinking, new skills, new hope. And you have to have all those three elements to have change. And if you're missing one, then you're not going to change anything. And so I think the new thinking and some new skills, I'm like, this makes sense to me. And so I was able to change, for me personally, how I thought of rest and recovery. And I hope that through my athletes, you know, just one little golf team, that I'm setting them up for success for the rest of their lives, understanding how important that is.
Well, Melissa, speaking just into that change and win formula, is that I think when we talk about change, a lot of coaches are really nervous about changing because they've done it a certain way over and over and over. And that's one gift that you really are giving our team, is just the ability to have the courage to say, okay, what's the science? And you didn't just do it kind of blindly. I mean, you really trusted the fact, you know, had faith in the process, just like we tell our players. And you know, you had a coach and, you know, really did it yourself. So I think that live it to give it model, if a coach can really honor that this is important and implement it and then see it work, it gives us that faith to try it with our players and to trust that over time, you know, this is what's really good for them long term. I want to talk about, as a woman, just that desire to be competitively great and to win, and also that struggle of burnout, because you know, we do want everything. And you spoke into, as an athlete, you know, you just kept thinking, if I do more, I'll get better, I think that's a trait that we have as women. We really don't want to fail. We'll do whatever it takes. How have you managed to really bring in that just awareness of the power of burnout and making sure that you and your players are set up for the joy of the competition?
So hopefully at age 19, that those kids are not feeling a ton of burnout. But yet again, that's all they've known for so long, that burnout is a reality. And so, like right now, we just finished our fall season. I think seasons is a really important thing to say, a beginning of your season, an end of your season, and sports gives us that. For me, it's like I feel like I'm always in season. So it's really helpful for me to, okay, this is our fall, this is the end of our fall season, this is our winter season. What do we want to accomplish in this section? And then we'll come back for our spring. And even within the spring season, which is our championship segment, I create seasons within that season. And so it just helps you kind of like close the chapter. And if you can see the end, then I think that's very helpful. It's, players that have injuries and they can't see the end. They don't know when they're going to get to come back. That's why they struggle emotionally. But from a burnout standpoint, like that's the whole rest and recovery is like, this is the place for it. And this is when my season is over, I'm going to do some rest and recovery. And then I come back and I'm prepared for the next season. And so when it's laid out like that, for me, it's just, I can manage my energy so much better. And, my husband, he kind of knows the seasons, and he knows like, there's going to be times where it's tough but he understands that. And then knowing that we're going to get that rest and recovery season, that we're going to, have more time together and make it more quality. So I think just laying it out like that helps me manage my energy so much better. And I try to lay it out for our team. I encourage them when, we just finished. I'm like, you guys need to go have some fun. I had one player just went to an away game for the first time ever, a football game. I'm like, go have fun, go be a student, go enjoy it. And, but so I just lay it out like that. And, our culture right now, it feels really good. Just getting a lot of feedback and just giving them that grace that, you have to go with the flow and the highs and the lows. And if you're trying to crush it and kill it 365 days a year, it's going to crush you. So
Melissa, you're a coach that has been highly sought after in several different jobs. Sometimes, as you said, when you deserve them, maybe sometimes where you may not have felt you deserve them, but you've been sought after. Tell me if you agree with this, and you don't need to, but if you do, if it's true, and if it's not, where it's not, okay, is that in women's sports, it's easier for women to get a job, but it's more difficult for them to keep a job. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. I mean, again, I'm only going to speak from my personal experience. I feel like if I do a good job and I stay in constant communication with my sport administrator, and I'm very clear on what the expectations are, and I'm meeting or exceeding those expectations, then I'm going to keep my job. I think that there are different factors of a woman's life that pull them away from the job. It can be, and I don't have kids of my own, I have stepkids. But my hat is completely off to coaches, with moms that are trying to juggle and manage things with the family. And so, for me personally, if you do a great job, well, why wouldn't you keep your job?
And so you're intentional about the things that will help you keep your job. I mean, I guess maybe you should say, well, duh, isn't every coach, but they're not. You're saying if I keep a really good relationship with my sport administrator. I mean, I know a lot of coaches that hide from their sport administrator, or they want nothing to do with their sport administrator because it's like, it's just somebody never coached. It's a compliance person. It's a this, it's a that. They have no idea what my life is like. And so, and then okay, I don't want to put this all on coaches. There are sport administrators, the old definition, I don't think it's true now so much, but the old definition of the SWA was the AD took football and men's basketball, and the SWA took everybody else. And that was frequently 14 to 16 programs, with that many coaches. And you wondered why there wasn't some kind of a real close relationship, or they weren't traveling with people or whatever. So yeah, so I don't want to put this all on coaches, but you said immediately, why wouldn't I keep my job if I keep my athletes happy and productive and I work with my sport administrator? I mean, is that just has that always been a no-brainer for you?
Yeah, I mean, I believe in the chain of command. I believe that my sport administrator can help me. That person's there to help me and help me make my program better. And I just think that developing that relationship. I just wrote a chapter in a book for it, about some challenges that our program went through at ASU. And if I didn't have a great relationship with my sport administrator, I probably would have lost my job. There are circumstances that, I kept them privy on everything. And so I don't know if it's just the model that, I've had great sport administrators, and they've taught me well as to how to maintain that relationship. It's the consistency of conversation. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything formal, but if there's something going on, I'm going to let my sport administrator know about it, because to me, that person can save you more than they can hurt you. So I think that relationship is very important, because I mean, I've made mistakes. I haven't always been perfect in coaching and through the years, and I'll probably make some more mistakes. But just they understand where I'm coming from, or like I ask for help.
So could you give us an example of a time where maybe you're on your way home from a tournament, or there's been a situation and it's like, oof, this did not go well, either with an athlete, or that you may be hearing from a parent or another coach, and you pulled your sport administrator in?
Oh, right. I mean, like a number of times, it's, and I can't go into specifics, but this is what happened on the trip. I want to give you my perspective. You may hear a different perspective, but I just want to reveal to you in full disclosure what happened. And then they're like, I really appreciate you letting me know. And then, I mean, that's basically all I can do. I don't ask them to fix things for me. I just I need to let you know what happened. And, it's just, again, it's people get degrees in communication, and because our communication skills can be so poor that you don't want to reveal something that might get you in trouble. But to me, I mean, like at Auburn, the number one rule is always tell the truth. And I just think that's great words to live by. And if you don't tell the truth, it's going to catch up to you. And if you've made a mistake, like with my players, I'm like, if you made a mistake, of course I'm not going to be thrilled, but I'm going to help you through this if you're honest with me. And if you're not honest with me, that's the quickest way out the door. And so it's just really just kind of setting the standard, and that's just, I guess that's just kind of the common nature for how I've dealt with, 22 years with sport administrators. I've always had great ones.
Well, Melissa, you're making it sound relatively natural. And so, as I watch you answer the question, it's kind of like, because it's very natural for you to communicate. And I think that's just a gift that you're giving us as we talk about really how women win. Number one, you're beautiful at relationships. You're very intentional about them. You choose to be in relationship with whoever is in your life, your players, whoever's around you. You invest in your relationships, and we're getting to hear that from really thinking of your bosses or the people that are on your journey with you and on your support team as really being in relationship with them. And then you talk about just telling the truth and honoring it. I think sometimes, not just as women, but as humans, we don't want to admit our mistakes or admit that we've made something not great. And so watching you just own it, is exactly what we ask our athletes to do. And you are such a model of live it to give it that I think those are some of the gifts I'm walking away with today as we listen to how women win is, honor that we're in relationships, be courageous, and really, speak into what you're good at, your strengths, your truths, what's going on. Ask for help. I love you talking about your SWA really being there to help you if they don't know you, if they don't know what you need, if they're not really on that journey with you. they can't support you. And, you say you've had great sport administrators. I know that there's times when, you've struggled and they've struggled. It hasn't been really an easy journey. It's just that you've made the commitment to make it a win for both of you. And I think that just points back to really those winning strategies of being for each other and really committed to that. So, thank you for the gift of today. Thank you for talking to us about how women win, and any great words of wisdom that you want to close with to women out there that are coaching or athletes or listening.
Coaching is not easy, and you need to have your own support team. Your athletes have their support team, and I think it's really important that coaches have a support team. Even if you're not a coach, if you're a working woman, if you're a mother or whatever, you need to have your people around you. And I'll give Carlette my love that, she's really helped me. And here we are talking about coaches and how much we can teach our players and how much players learn from their coaches. Why not have a coach? Everybody needs a coach, and there's no shame in having a coach. It's a great, like, you just need someone to be real with you and yet supportive, coming from a place of love and support, but yet being real. And so I think it's been the greatest gift I've had in my adult years.
That's a huge honor. Thank you so much, Melissa. Thanks for being coachable. I think that's another thing as coaches. Sometimes we don't change to win. We really get anchored in who we are and what we're all about. And you've definitely been a champion for change on this journey. Kathy, words of wisdom.
Oh, I don't think I can match any of those words of wisdom. So, no, Melissa, I really appreciate you, sharing part of what you've been through, your life journey, where you've had learnings and that kind of thing. I think it'll help the folks who are listening to this, and it helps Carlette and me as we, try and figure out what are some of the strategies for women in these roles where we're tugged in different directions, and we may be living in a paradigm that isn't completely comfortable for us all the time. And so how do we help other people thrive as you have? So thank you.
Well, I appreciate the honor of being with both of you champions. So thank you very much.
So team, it's up to you. Go out and win your way. If you want to join us on our journey, Kathy and I are all about figuring out how women win. And you can go to our website, howwomenwin.com, answer our survey, or join us on a podcast. So it's up to you. Go out, find your support team, really be honest about who you are and what you want, and go for it. And most of all, honor that rest and recovery. Melissa, thank you for being on the journey with us.
Thank you.